Welcome back, Knicks fans. Wanted to go through yesterday's games. The Knicks played their first game against the Memphis Grizzlies, and it was an interesting game. We just want to go through, recap the game, and also look at some of the notable performances in the game. And so, before we do that, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to also win a free ticket to a Knicks game, make sure you also email us at civilanalytics@gmail.com. Now, with that said, let's just get right into this game. This is a very interesting game by the New York Knicks. Overall, they played pretty good defense. It wasn't really that way throughout the game in the second quarter. The second quarter was rough for them. I think they allowed something like 35 points. The Grizzlies scored about 35 points in the second quarter. So things got away from the Knicks in the second quarter. But in the third quarter, they're able to basically, get a handle on it and come back on the game. I mean, the biggest story in today's game is actually, you have to say, is Julius Randle. Julius Randle played a very good game. He did not make a lot of mistakes. Believe it or not, it's crazy. The only mistakes Julius Randle made was towards the end of the game when he had a couple of back-to-back fouls that sent one of the Memphis Grizzlies players to the free throw line, and he ended up falling out of the game. But that was pretty much the only. Honestly, that was the only. Those were really the big mistakes that he made in this game. There were a couple of other minor mistakes he made. A lot of the things with Julius Randle. Sometimes I notice is just it's just he's sort of like it's almost like he's sleep jogging. Through the game sometimes. He's on cruise control, and sometimes he's not. He's not really aware of everything that's going on around him, and so things kind of get away from him. And it was maybe a four times. There was making four mistakes out of a whole game, especially on the defensive end. I mean, that's extremely impressive to me. So I really like the game he played. He played a great team game. Did a great job rebounding the basketball for the New York Knicks. And he also did a pretty good job on the defensive end. He did a very good job on the defensive end. A lot of times a lot of times when he on defense, he's usually on the same side of the court a lot of times with Evan Fournier, and that's rough. That's a really rough go. And so, but he's usually on the same side, and I know that could be extremely frustrating for him. However, I felt like he did a great job, keeping with it. There's a lot of times Evan Fournier, he screwed up on the rotation. At least it looked like he screwed up on the rotation. I'm not the coach, so I don't know exactly what they're supposed to do. But it looked like Fournier may have screwed up on a couple of the rotation, especially on the pick and rolls and things like that. It's just, I don't know. Anytime there's another man involved, and it's a pick or anything like that, it's like and Fournier is involved. It seems like it always ends up in a disaster. But I feel like Julius did a really good job being patient and sticking with it and trying to clean up a lot of the mess. He didn't do a great job holding the opponent down to like a low field goal percentage. So if we look over here, this is Julius Randle here. Julius, he shot 56% from the field, and he held the opponent to 53% shooting. So he challenged 15 shots, and the opponent made about 8 of the shots that Julius challenged. Again, I felt like a lot of it was just him being a really good team player, and also trying to close out on his other teammates, man, that may have gotten loose, people that are driving into the basket. So he did a lot. I felt like he did a great job stepping up, and so this is one of those things where like stats can be a little deceiving, although. The opponent shot 53% against Julius Randle. I felt like he played great team defense, and he did a lot. He did a lot basically by stepping up, especially to challenge guards and other wings that were driving into the paint. So he was basically the biggest impact player in this game. So let's just kind of go over his stat line. He went 9 of 16, 56%, and he scored 24 points. Grabbed 11 rebounds. 9 of them was defensive rebounds, and this is probably one of the most important things here, is his ability to rebound on the defensive end. And so he did a great job with that, because it's something we definitely struggle with. He's still struggling from three a little bit, Hopefully, it's something that's gonna is gonna come back. But I mean, he was really just attacking the paint. Did a great job attacking the paint, and I think he made a couple of mid-range shots. So overall, it was a great game by Julius Randle. He did have three turnovers, although it's not on here, but he had three turnovers. But overall, he played a great game. Let's see the number of assists that he have. He has 6 assists as well. Overall, the Knicks had 28 assists in this game, and so and Julius Randle has 6 of the 28 assists, and so that's it's pretty good. I thought he played a very good game, and it's just only towards the end he just kind of felt like he self-destructed a little bit, and it's just with him. I think it's just more about staying focused. Those last two fouls that he had, he just blatantly pushed. The rebound of the person going for the rebound in the back, and I'm not sure if he meant to do it or if it's just something that's subconscious, but it happened. And so, but those were pretty much the only mistakes he made. He had a monster game, and it's got to give him kudos, especially playing the way he's playing. I mean, like if he's playing like that, you know, Obi Toppin, I'm not sure. He only played 13 minutes this game. When Julius is playing this way, it's going to be tough for Obi. Obi to really stay on the court. I think Obi will have to be a lot more aggressive, and I felt like this game he wasn't really aggressive enough. And it's but it wasn't his first game, not too bad. Usually Obi just needs a little more minutes to kind of like get in the flow of the game. But unfortunately, the coach is not going to give him the minutes if he's not, if he starts off not playing very well, right? And so it wasn't like Obi played terribly or bad. It was just that Obi just wasn't. I felt like he just wasn't really aggressive enough when he was out there on the floor. There was like in one moment where at one time he had the ball baseline. He had I can't remember who passed him the ball. He could have went up for the shot. He could have went straight up for the shot for the layup or even possibly try to dunk it. But he basically tried to dump it off to Hartenstein. I can't remember if Hartenstein ended up turning the ball over or either he turned the ball over or he missed a layup. So it just wasn't really a good look. It just didn't look like Obi was like in a really good flow. But the whole point is if Julius is playing this way, it's going to be very difficult to Obi to be able to get the minutes that he needs to get this season, especially if Obi is not contributing when he's on the floor. And so I do think like if Obi starts to contribute, I do think he's going to get more minutes. And I do think that the coach might even give Julius a spell and maybe, pull back his minutes more to like, because he played almost 35 minutes. So the coach might pull it back to maybe 32 minutes just to kind of get Obi more playing time if Obi is playing well. But if he plays the same way he played yesterday, I just don't see it happening. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. But Julius, like I said again, story of the night. The other person who played really well was Isaiah Hartenstein. We're going to get into that pretty soon. But overall, just kind of want to talk about the game as a whole. And so, like I said, it's they started off a little slow, right? But defense picked up was pretty good in the first quarter. Second quarter kind of got away from them. Third quarter, the defense was a lot more solid again. Same thing in the fourth quarter. In the third quarter, they were down 19 points and they were able to cut the lead all the way down. Basically, cut the lead down to probably, I think it was like maybe 3 or 5 points or something like that by the end of the third quarter. And they were able to momentarily regain the lead towards the end of the fourth quarter. But towards the end of the fourth quarter, I felt that I felt that the coach could have went back to Mitchell Robinson with 2 minutes to go. I understand Hartenstein played a great game. He had a very good game, scored 16 points, had 8 rebounds, and did a really good job. He did a good job on the defensive end. But towards the end of the game, they kept attacking him, right? They kept attacking the basket, kept attacking Hartenstein, and John Moran was able to get the best of him. I think he gave up a couple of 3-point plays to John Moran by reaching in. It's just, I feel like in that case, and also we struggle with rebounding towards the end of that game. So it could have been, I think it would have been better for the team to swap the players out towards the end. Although Hartenstein played a great game, and basically help them come back. Uh, it would have been, in my opinion, I think it would have been better for the coach to go back to Mitchell Robinson, trying to basically at this point trying to stick with I guess the players that brought you there at this point, especially when you were just getting killed on the boards. And then also he was giving up 3-point plays towards the end of the game and in overtime. I thought it was just silly to kind of stay with it. So they should have swapped it out. That's just what they should have done. And so this is kind of one of those things where sometimes I feel like coaches can get tricked. Not that they can get tricked. Sometimes um, their beliefs on their beliefs on how they feel and their loyalty towards players can contribute to like a losing formula sometimes. And so although Hartenstein played a great game and brought you to that point, it just made more sense to put in your best, one of your best rebounders and your best defensive player in on the floor towards the end of the game. And he didn't do that, and the Knicks and they ended up paying for it. They couldn't get a rebound when they needed it in the fourth quarter and in overtime, especially when the game got really tight. And it ended up costing us in the end. And so that's pretty much what I thought happened with this game. And of course, the other minor stuff that happened towards the end, like I said, was Julius Randle falling his uh, falling the rebounder towards the end of the game. That was unfortunate, and it just kind of like really it really kind of helped. It really kind of screwed the Knicks over. And so we're going to start from the top, right? And we're going to look at all the players and look at how they performed. And so we're going to start with RJ. RJ really struggled today. Um, RJ basically he had 11 points, right? So right now we're going to basically go through each person's performance, and we're also going to basically look at the person's performance along with the uh, who that person was matched up against. So basically, we're looking at the person's like their whole contribution. We're not just looking at offensive contribution. We're also looking at their defensive contribution, and so that's what essentially we're doing here. And so we're starting with RJ, and RJ scored 11 points. He scored 11 points. He did have, I think, 6 rebounds or 8 rebounds. And so nope, he had 8 rebounds. 6 was defensive. So, he did contribute in other ways aside from scoring. Towards the end of the game, it kind of felt like he continued to press a little bit, although there were other players that they probably could have went to. But it didn't work. It just wasn't a good game for RJ. He struggled, and hopefully it's not going to be a slow slog for RJ like it's been the last few years. It definitely won't be a good look. The other thing I noticed with RJ, the thing that's contributing towards a really bad field goal percentage is his inability to finish at the rim. He shot 17%, 3 of 18, 17% from the field, and he just really still is struggling finishing in the paint. And so that's one of the big problems for RJ Barrett. And then on defensive end, I mean, he was getting, he got cut by John Morant quite a bit. So basically, he defended 10 shots. The opponents made 8 of them. Out of the 8 shots that were made against RJ Barrett, 6 of them were from John Morant. And so John Morant, especially towards in the beginning of the game, I mean, he kind of had his way with RJ. But honestly, it wasn't too terrible because he only defended like 10 shots to tell you the truth. And so out of that's less than 10% out of the 108 that the Memphis Grizzlies took. And so honestly, I just don't think so. With that said, although he struggled a little bit on the defensive end, RJ was not he didn't really hurt us that badly on the defensive end. Overall, I think the team played overall a pretty good team defense. And RJ wasn't really didn't really hurt us that much because, like I said, he only defended 10 shots and I think he played close to 40 minutes. Let's see how many minutes RJ played. He played 37 minutes, almost 38 minutes. And so out of 38 minutes, he defended 10 shots. And so it wasn't terrible. Although it seemed like he was getting cooked. it's not as bad as you might think it is. So so the opponent shot 80% against RJ and scored 23 points. And so definitely there were, he did give up some, buckets, some points. But some of it also, I think he gave us some buckets. So basically, some of them were threes as well. And so it sort of was a struggle. And so the net points for RJ, so he lost the matchup by 12 points. He scored 11 points. The opponent scored 23 on him. And so the net points was minus 12. And so the other thing we really want to look at, net field goal differential, right? So the opponent was 63% more efficient than RJ was. And so that's a problem. And if you look over here, this is the PIE. His PIE was 1. And if you include his defensive effort, it was 1.9. So it was pretty good, right? And so then the other person, obviously, we wanted to look at, we talked about Julius Randle and his performance, offensive performance already. Uh, his defense was pretty okay, although 50, this is where sometimes statistics, can be a little misleading. He's, like I said earlier, he did a great job stepping up to help out his teammates when his teammates got beat off the dribble. And so a lot of times he was basically picking up his teammates that got, his teammates, man, that basically that was driving to the paint. And so although he allowed 53%, I just felt like, it was, um, still did a pretty good job on the defensive end. So the opponent scored 21 points against him. He scored 24, and so he won his matchup by 3 points. And he was 3 percentage points more efficient than the opponent, and his PIE was 28. And with the defensive, with all the defensive stats combined, and his when you include his defensive effort, his PIE was about 21, right? So he was the most impactful player in this game. So the next person was Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson struggled. He had foul trouble, was in foul trouble. I mean, however, he was a monster on the defensive end. This is why I felt towards the end of the game they should have put Mitchell Robinson in the game. Basically, there were opponents. He was challenged. He challenged 9 shots, and the opponent only made one. And the one that was made was by John Morant. He did, foul quite a bit because he fouled out in this game, and so, you know, so that was where he sort of struggled, obviously, because he fouled a lot, and so this opponent points here, I have it as 5 points, but I think it's probably going to be more than that because he did have a few fouls, but so this opponent points does seem a little low. But it might be correct. It might be right, because some of the fouls that he got probably was before the team was in a penalty. And so defensively, Mitchell Robinson was actually a big plus, did not take away from the team. His PIE, this was -1, but when you include the defensive performance, the stats, it was 4.5. Evan Fournier, this one is a very interesting one. He was just like, he scored 14 points. He did his job in terms of helping stretch the floor. He was 3-6 from the 3-point line, but he didn't shoot very well overall. He shot only 33% from the field. And I'm sorry, that was defensive field goal percentage. What did he shoot? He shot 36% from the field. And this is, it's funny. He is one of the more luckier defensive players I've seen. And I think a lot of it also is like teammates helping him out a lot. And so the fact that his teammates pick up the slack a lot for him really does help him on the defensive end. But there was a lot of times where he didn't even bother rotating out or running out to his man on the 3-point line. And his man just flat out missed the shots. And so he held the opponents to 33% shooting, but it wasn't because of his efforts, because there was quite a few times he didn't even run out, or his rotation was just bad, and a man took a wide open shot. His man took an open shot, and it just so happened his man missed a shot. So the opponent only scored 10 points against him. He scored 14. He won his matchup by 4 points, and he was 3 percentage points more efficient than the opponent. But this felt like pretty kind of like lucky in some ways because, like I said, he just did a terrible job, rotating, and he didn't do a great job on the defensive end. So this is another one of those situations where stats can lie. Although it was effective, his man did miss the shots. But how is this going to happen? Continue? Is this going to continue to happen in the future? You know, and the smart thing too that they did is basically putting him on. I think they did their best trying to hide him and put him on on their opponent's weakest offensive players or their weakest 3-point shooters at times, and so that did help. So a lot of this is really scheming and the team really helping out Fournier. But at the end of the day, he held the opponent to 33% shooting, and he won his matchup and was more efficient than his matchup. So you have to give him kudos for that. Jalen Brunson, he scored seven. He scored 15 points and held his opponents to 40% shooting. Opponent scored 17 points, so he lost his matchup by 2 points. And he was 1 percentage point less efficient than his opponent. PIE was 17. With the defensive performance, he was 15.5. Emmanuel quickly didn't have a very good game. Decent on the defensive end, but he was pretty good on the defensive end. But offense was just wasn't there. He didn't make any shots. He was 0 of 6. Held his opponent to 22% shooting. His opponent scored 5 points. So it played good defense, but he didn't make any shots, and so he was on the offensive end, he was a drag on his team. So the PIE was -3. But so the PIE was -3. When you include his defensive effort, he was at 2.6, and so the other person who had a huge game was Hartenstein, 16 points, scored 16 points, 64% shooting, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. I mean, he had a very, very good game, very, very good game. So you have to give him kudos. He challenged 26 shots. It looks like they basically, it looks like their the Knicks. It looks like the game plan. They did not mind funneling all the wing players and guards. Excuse me, into the Knicks big men. They didn't mind doing that because Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson, they're fairly decent defenders. Well, Mitchell Robinson is a very good defender. Hartenstein played pretty good. He was a good challenge in the shots yesterday. So his defense was good. We struggled rebounding when he's on the floor. That's where we struggle a little bit, is really just the rebounding. The one thing I noticed about that with Hartenstein is when he challenges a shot, a lot of times he'll just sit there. When he challenges a shot, he'll just sit there and stare at the ball going towards the rim and stare at the ball coming off the rim, but he will not actually make an active effort to actually get the rebound. He'll just sit there and stare at it. And so I think that's one of the issues that he has. And I think what he needs to do is, I think he needs to work more on, if he basically, when he challenges a shot, he just needs to basically, he can't just sit there and stare at the ball. He needs to try to get the rebound. And so I wanted to look at what Mitchell Robinson does when he challenges a shot. And so I'm going over to Mitchell Robinson. So even on NBA stats right here, if you look on NBA stats, Mitchell Robinson, I had him challenging 9 shots. NBA had him challenging 8 shots, 1 of 8. Dude the kid is just a monster. But let's take a look and see what Mitchell Robinson does when he after he challenges a shot. Well, this is on the perimeter, and so he just looked like he just tried to leak out. And then with this one here, let's see what he does here. Also on the perimeter. Okay. I'm just trying to see the ones where when he's challenging the shot at the rim. I would like to see what happens there. How he that wasn't even his. He didn't even defend that shot, so I don't know why they're giving him credit for that. And so this is another one. They come down. Okay, here he goes. Okay, so this one's a little harder because he was when he blocked the shot, he was just basically he kind of glided out of bounds when he blocked that shot or when he challenged that shot. Okay, so that one was an actual score. Let's see here. Okay, so with Mitchell Robinson, he didn't. So yeah, if you see here, Mitchell Robinson, he basically puts his hands up to challenge a shot, but he immediately puts a body on someone. You know, he doesn't just stare at the ball, he immediately puts the body on someone. And the reason why I was also saying that they should have brought him in towards the end of the game is because of that. Hartenstein, he'll challenge the shot, but he won't try to put a body on someone. All the other ones where Mitch Robinson challenged the shot and he didn't put a body on someone. That was mostly he was on the perimeter, or when he challenged the shot, he kind of glided out of bounds and he was trying to make sure he didn't get called for the foul. But usually when he's sitting there in the middle and somebody comes in with a floater like he does here, I notice he always Mitchell Robinson when he challenges the shot and he immediately puts the body on someone. And not only does he put a body on someone, the fact that he's strong enough to keep, if you see here, he's strong enough and big enough to keep big fella away from the boards. You know, can't remember this big man's name right now, but yeah, the fact that he was able to, like, he's just big enough, strong enough. He's able to pick him off balls. But it's just like the one thing Hartenstein does need to do that Mitchell Robinson does do when he challenges a shot, Mitchell Robinson basically puts a body on a man right away. And Hartenstein needs to do more of that. Hartenstein, he'll challenge the shot and he just kind of goes into a trance and he just starts to stare at the ball and doesn't even try to get the rebound or anything. And so that's something Hartenstein needs to really work on. However, he still had a great game, monster game. PIE was 15, but once you include his defensive effort, so it was 20. So the fact that he went up, it just shows that he played great defense and had a huge impact on a ball game, especially on both ends of the floor. The next person that was also the story of the night was Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish played an awesome game. His PIE was actually 23, it was the second highest. And but with his defense, because his defense wasn't that great. I mean, he didn't challenge a ton of shots on the defensive end. Uh, However, he didn't challenge a ton of shots on the defensive end, but when he did challenge the shots, it was 5 shots he challenged, and they made 3 of them, right? And so, that's not that great. But a lot of it was is not. It wasn't like he was playing terrible defense. It was just really on the rotations. And I noticed with some of the rotations, it's almost like he cheats off his man to basically to make sure. I guess because he has responsibility trying to protect the paint as a help defender, right? And so but it seems like the coach has them doing that by design. It seems like they want to clog up the paint. It seems like they rather give up that 3-point shot, right, than, the shot in the paint, which is understandable. But it seems like, Cam was really over helping a lot. But I think I was starting to feel like it felt like it was by design. Like they wanted a lot of the wing players to over help, like as over help on the defensive end and to try to basically keep people out of the paint. And so that I think that's the reason why a lot of the shooters were able to get their shots off of Cam. And I know when I was watching the game, I think Jeff Van Gundy basically said that Cam was cheating too much over and was basically committing too much to the ball away from his man. And so, but in this case, and it kind of bit Cam in this situation. But overall, Cam had a great game, right? Scored 22 points. Uh, 22 points, 5 rebounds, no assists, 4 defensive rebounds. He was just really good this game. And so, in terms of his matchups, basically, uh, opponent scored 10 points against him. He won the matchup by 12 points, and he was wow. So yeah, although so he shot 60%. So Cam probably shot 60% because he was not more efficient than his opponent, but he ended up winning the matchup because although the efficiency him and his he was not more efficient than his opponent, but he did outscore the opponent, so he did basically win that matchup. And so he was basically, a plus for us. But if you see here, his defense wasn't, he kind of got penalized on the defense. And so it dragged down his PIE to 14.2. So the next person we spoke about briefly, Obi Toppin, didn't really do much. We talked about him earlier, so there's really no need to kind of repeat it. But he just didn't have a great game. A little disappointing. So let's just do it real quick. He scored 2 points, challenged 2 shots. One was allowed one made shot. It was a 3-pointer. Lost his matchup by 1 point, and he was 17% less efficient than his opponent because he shot 33% and the opponent shot 50% against him. And PIE was essentially 2, slightly went down when you include defense, and so 1.9. Derrick Rose is the next person. Didn't play a ton of minutes, but when he was on the floor, he was impactful. Derrick Rose, I don't know what it is with this man, but when he's with Tibbs, he's a really good defender when he's on Tibbs teams. So it's been like this since he came to the Knicks under Tibbs. He's been a great perimeter defender. So this game, he only scored 4 points. Let's see. Shot only 25%. So he did not have a great offensive game because he only shot 25%. Scored 4 points. But his opponent only made 1 field goal and scored 3 points. So he won his matchup by 1 point. And he was 5 percentage points more efficient than his opponent because he held his opponent to 20% shooting. Well, and he shot 25%. And so his PIE was 3. And, with his defense, they got up to 4.5. He did have 2 assists, 4 rebounds, really great rebounding guard, especially for his height at the point guard position. So that's really good to see. And so that's pretty much, the story of the game, right? It's that's pretty much how everyone performed. And like I said, the Knicks, they lost this by 3 points. And it was just, I really feel like if they would have done a better job in that second quarter, I think they would have won this game. The game got away from them in the second quarter. I think that was a big part of it. And then also, I think they could have, I need to retract what I said. I'm not going to say Julius Randle was partially responsible for the loss because of those 2 fouls. Obviously, it didn't help, and he put the man on the line. It kind of, I felt like without those, we probably would have had a better chance of winning the ball game. However, I think the biggest thing was really the second quarter. It was really a team, a team effort in the second quarter. It just wasn't there in terms of like on a defensive end. I think they scored 35 points in us, somewhere in that range, maybe more. And so that's really where this game got away from us. And if that didn't happen, I think we would have had a much better shot of winning this ball game. And so that's pretty much the game, guys. Let me know what you think. Who do you guys think was the best player in this game? Who was the most impactful player? What do you guys think about Cam Reddish's performance? Is this what we're going to be? Are we going to be? Is this something that we need to look for? That we're going to be looking forward to every game now? Like, is he going to be this efficient? I don't think he's always going to be this efficient. Although he's got the skill sets too, honestly, if his three isn't full, and he can always just get to the basket, right? However, it just felt like in the preseason, some of those shots that he was taking and he wasn't able to finish at the rim quite a bit. I mean, some of the shots he was taking at the rim, they were pretty difficult shots, and sometimes I think he's trying to be a little too acrobatic at the rim. Sometimes I would just wish he would just, he's 6'8" with like over 7 feet wingspan. Sometimes I think he should just jump, just rise above the defender and try to finish strong. That's just what I think he should do. Saw it like only once in a fast break yesterday with Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane didn't try to jump, but he essentially rose above Desmond Bane, was able to finish over him and with a dunk. And I just really wish he would do more of that. But thank you guys so much for watching this review of the game. Let me know what you think. Please like and subscribe. I'll be more than happy to respond to your comments below as well. So feel free to comment. Talk to you guys soon.